Hi everyone, and welcome to Screams After Midnight, the horror movie podcast here on the Mile Fuzz Podcast Network. Here, as always, class is in session because the professor, Tim Vergulish, is among us.
Yes. How's it dinging, danging?
Tim, last week you said you need to get a catchphrase because this was embarrassing, and somehow your hello there was worse than last week's.
I thought you were gonna say more. But I think we're onto something with how's it dinging, danging. I think that has legs.
More legs than Batman v Superman.
Hey,
also
now.
here is
Wait,
Joseph Collar.
Hello.
It's a dig because Batman v Superman's not making as much money after its first weekend, Tim.
Oh, okay.
It's nosediving.
And that's called legs.
Yeah, if a
Yes.
movie makes a lot of money for a long time, it's got legs.
So what movie has the most legs?
Avatar had very good legs.
Titanic.
Titanic had good
Okay.
legs.
The original Star Wars did. Yeah.
Even recently, Deadpool had fairly good legs, actually. For
It's
what it
still
was.
showing. It still has about 6-7 showings a day in my local theater.
Interesting.
So Tim's just learned what it means when someone says a movie has legs. And but we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about horror movies because this is the horror movie show, and we talk about horror films from the past and the present.
And the present.
Yes, thank you,
Just
Tim.
making sure.
And this week we're going to talk about Hush, which is a new film from Mike Flanagan, who also directed Oculus a few years ago, and it debuted straight onto Netflix. So pretty easy to find. You can go out and check it out before you listen to us talk about it, because we are going to go spoilers. But you know, we'll keep it light. We'll talk about the first parts of the movie before we go into the second half. So you can listen to a
Before
little
we really
bit.
dip into it.
Yeah. So, but for the most part, we are going to go into spoilers. So, you can go watch it because you've probably got Netflix because it's 2016 and
Yeah.
people have Netflix. It's just
Popular streaming apparatus.
apparatus.
Yes.
Tim's choice of words today has just been perfect.
That's what they're called.
Application, do you mean?
Whatever.
All right.
Maybe it's
So,
a US term.
so Hush.
Sir.
Hush is a very cool concept, actually. We over on 1.21 gigawatts, we do our trailer talk, and we get the trailer for this, 3 months ago, 4 months ago, whatever it was, and I thought the trailer was pretty cool because
Yeah.
it's about a deaf woman who's basically like tormented by this masked killer individual, and she can't hear anything because she's deaf, which I think, for me at least, in concept, sounds like a really unique spin.
Oh yeah.
So that's what the movie's about, and that's it. There's not really much more to explain. We get the introduction to the main character, and we get a little bit of like context and texture as to how she like has everyday life. Like her phone lights up as well as making sounds. Her alarm flashes as well as making sound. Things like that. Just little contextual things that if you weren't aware of how like a deaf person would have like these appliances react slightly differently. It sets them all up for you, and the plot uses them all at some point, so that's pretty cool. First thing I want to say is I actually thought, because I was watching this through my computer on Netflix, right, and sometimes my speakers, like if they've not been used in a while, need to be sort of turned off and on again just to like bring them back up to life. So when this movie started and there was no audio for the opening like title intros and the studio logos and all that, I was like, oh, my speakers have went off. And I went up, turned them off and on, sat back down, and there was still no sound. I'm like, oh, I bet this is a thing. They're making fun of me. They're having silence because it's about a deaf woman. How dare they? And then
I like that you chose to take it as a personal insult.
yeah, upset me. What can I say? But then the title comes up and there's sound. I thought that was actually quite a smart thing to do, as much as it was making me think there was something wrong with my speakers. So, props.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's the start. That's the setup. Masked individual kills the neighbour, and in doing so notices that the main character doesn't react and realises she's deaf. And
It's
we
kind of
go
funny
from
when he
there.
first notices her, because he's kind of like looking at her, kind of like
Hello.
puzzled.
I'm right
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Just killed somebody. Are you scared?
Pretty much. So before we dip into details, then, just before we get into proper spoilers, let's just sort of give an overall thoughts. Did you like this movie, Tim?
I liked it, but I didn't love it. Like
Okay.
you said, I thought it was a really good trailer, and I was really, really excited for it. I thought the concept sounded great, and I think maybe I had some thoughts about how it was gonna be, and when it maybe didn't live up to that, I was a little disappointed. It's definitely not a bad movie. I think it's perfectly fine, but like it's not like I wasn't wowed by it as I was expecting to be, especially after the trailer.
Alright, fair. Joseph, did you like the movie?
I went in completely blind. I did not see the trailer. I did not know about the concept. I just knew the name of the title, just Hush. So, starts, I see Blumhouse. My eyes roll, another one. But no, I actually did enjoy it. Knowing nothing about the concept at all going in, just completely blind, no, I just perfectly enjoyed it. Went by fast for me.
I feel like you're trying to make a bad pun by saying you went in blind.
I wish I was. I wish I was thinking about that.
But I think I fall. I definitely land higher than Tim does. I think. While I do think I have some nitpicks, like I have some issues with a couple of things. I do like a lot of the movie, and I think the lead actress Kate Siegel, who plays the deaf woman, who's called Maddie, I think she's really good in the movie,
Oh yeah.
and I think for the most part, her trying to like outsmart this guy when she's got this severe disadvantage because she can't hear anything is actually really thrilling to watch. So for me, it mostly worked really well.
Yeah.
I think there's maybe just a couple of things that I would. So I guess we're getting spoilers, right? So this is the
Yeah.
wall. So if you've wanted some general impressions, that's you've got them. Full spoilers from this point on. Now I thought it was creepy with the mask, and I thought the mask was a nice, scary sort of creepy mask for a killer. And
For all of 10 seconds that it's on.
well, it's more than 10 seconds, but I'm getting there. I really. It's a double-edged sword, actually, I think, because I think the scene where he takes it off, because it's actually a really good scene. She writes on the window, "I didn't see your face, I won't tell anyone." She's trying to get him to leave and leave her alone.
Yeah.
And he takes off his mask, and he's like, "You've seen it now." Well, he's like a little bit before that when he's like, "Can you read my lips?" and blah blah. But
Yeah.
I actually really like that moment. I really like this taunting that he does. He's like, "Well, you've seen it now. I'm going to fucking kill you. Be scared." I really like that moment. However, I do think that not having the mask for the rest of the movie does kind of his intimidation for us suffers quite a bit. I think.
The more he talks, like, because there's scenes where he's kind of, like muttering to himself or whatever, and I don't know. The more we kind of, I guess, I don't know what you want to say, like familiarize yourself with him, it just takes out a little bit of the
menace.
creepiness factor. Yeah, the menace, exactly.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think you hit it on the head when you said the more he talks.
Yeah.
Like, see,
And-
see if after that scene he'd never really said anything, other than when he was forced to later.
yeah,
I think
I
he
would
might
have
have.
been totally fine with that.
Yeah, I
'cause,
think.
yeah, like you said, removing the mask was a really good scene, but it just doesn't work like more and more as it goes.
Also, I don't think the actor was bad, but I do think they might have miscast the role. And the reason why I say that is because it's even a plot point later on when Anders from Battlestar Galactica shows up, because he was in Battlestar Galactica, and he has that whole thing where he thinks he's a cop for a minute, and all that scene, and we'll talk about that in depth, I suppose, later. But for me, he brings up in that scene that if he hadn't have stabbed him in the neck at first, he would have lost that fight, and he's right.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of my problem with the actor they picked. Is like
Yeah,
he's not that intimidating without the
No.
mask, because he's just like a sort of smallish, he's like 5'8", I think she says when she's like writing
Yeah.
down the description later.
and like obviously we don't know anything about who this guy is or where he comes from, but just by the way he kind of looked and talked and acted, I kind of got the sense that, like, I don't know, he was just like some like douchebag that like I don't know. Like I assumed he was probably like some like rich guy that was just like, oh yeah, I'm bored with my life, so I'm gonna hunt man.
I
You
think he
know.
was rich. I got the impression he was more working class.
He did have that
Uh,
purge-like smile to him.
Yeah,
yeah.
he had that tattoo in his neck. He didn't feel rich to me at all. He felt like just some loser who wanted to do
No,
this.
he seemed like some rich dude that did everything he can and never was said no to, never had any boundaries, and then this was his way of like lashing out at the world and trying to get attention and entertain himself. That's the feeling I got from him.
I didn't get rich. I got just pathetic. But I also got that he's not very good at this. I also
Oh
got
yeah.
that, like,
Well, didn't he have like how many people he killed though? It seemed like he killed a lot of people. Like
yeah,
scratched onto his.
it was like 12 or 15 or something like that scratched on
Although I
his
guess if he's
crossbow.
just going like middle of the woods, like random, like deaf woman and stuff,
But
I don't know if that how hard that'd be.
I think he doesn't really feel like a force of nature though. Most of my favourite like killers, especially when they've got masks on, feel like forces of nature. Whereas he
Right.
feels like this guy who's stumbling his way through it, and yeah, he's using a crossbow to shoot them from a distance. It's like, well, there's not much skill.
Yeah, it's not
Nah.
very fun.
I feel weird like picking apart,
Yeah.
how unintimidating he is to us because he really isn't.
Yeah.
Once he takes the mask off, but
No.
at the same time though, if you were in the house, even like, okay, if it was you yourself as you are now, you might not be. You'd still be scared because this would be a big confrontation. You'd have to put up
Well,
a fight.
you know, I'm a pretty tough guy, but
Yeah, of course you are, Timmy. With those long locks, here, no one comes knocking to you. But but like in her situation, especially because she's deaf and she has that disadvantage,
yeah.
I think it's terrifying from her point of view. Whenever it goes back into the house and you don't know where he is, and it's her trying to figure out what to do, and she's hiding and stuff, then it's working really well.
Yeah, and if they would have like you said, have treated it more like a force of nature where you don't see where he's coming from and stuff, but like they would cut back and they would show him like kind of walking around, not knowing where she is and kind of looking and stuff, and it was just yeah, that's like completely like non-threatening. Like yeah, you don't want to see your killer kind of like, you know, I guess like you said, like stumbling through it. Yeah.
Yeah, like imagine if we got a scene in the original Halloween where Michael Myers would just sort of passing by some bushes, looking around to see if anyone was there,
Yeah.
and bobbing his head back and forth, and like it just
Yeah.
like so.
Did you,
I think
did
there's
you
a
ever see that
problem with
movie?
that.
I think it was called Leslie Vernon
I
or
did,
something.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what I always think about when I think of like scenes like that. Just like a guy being like, "Oh man, you know how much cardio I have to do to make it seem like."
Yeah, Behind the Mask: The Rise of Leslie Vernon.
Yeah,
That's the movie in
that's
question.
yeah.
But so I think that I have a problem with that. I have a problem with how he's portrayed in
No.
that sense, where he's like showing too much and talking too much.
Yeah. Now
I-
I do kind of like the. I don't know if this is what they were going for, but I was thinking about it afterwards. Like, oh, maybe they were trying to do a reversal where you have the hero or the heroine, you know, that is talking all the time, and then the killer that's silent. You know, like Jason or Michael Myers or something. And I didn't know if they were trying to reverse it, where it's like, all right, well now the girl is going to be, you know, you're not going to hear her, but you'll hear the killer. I don't know if that's what they're trying to go for, but I thought that was kind of clever, but it didn't really work if it was.
Yeah, I think that they just worked better if we didn't hear either of them for the whole movie.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, other than that one scene and maybe some key points where he had to talk to like the guy when he shows up and things like that. But I think treating it almost like a silent film, but with sound effects.
Well,
would have
see,
worked
that's
really well.
kind of the second thing. That was like the first big issue for me. The second thing was, yeah, just in general, if it had been like, you know, almost completely silent the whole movie, I think that's what I expected when I saw the trailer, and that's what I was kind of hoping for. I think that would have been really cool and creepy. But yeah, I mean, between music and sound effects and stuff, um, yeah, obviously they weren't really going for that, but that
I mean,
kind of
it didn't have as much music as a lot of modern horror films do, and I did think
Yeah.
they played with the sound a little bit, especially at the start, where you would hear like random sounds, like her phone would ring and you'd hear the vibrating really loudly, or even the ring. I can't remember if it was ringing or vibrating, but it would be mixed really loud in the track. So for us, it would be like, oh shit, that's really loud, but to her, it's nothing. Like she just, you know.
I feel like basically I was just expecting the Hush episode of Buffy. I didn't get that, but
which is a fantastic episode, of course.
I
do love that episode.
Great.
It's so I kind of get your point there. Admittedly, though, I think it was doing other things that I really liked. And one of the big things I really liked about it is it doesn't, even though a lot of the premise and a lot of the coolness and the suspense comes from her being deaf, I like that that's not the only thing that she has as a character. They sell this idea that she's a writer and she struggles with endings and she always tries to visualize them, and I thought they used that really well in the last act.
Yeah, I really.
To the point where like it didn't even feel like it was like a vision or a dream. It felt like, wait, did he just win? What the fuck?
Just the ending of the movie.
Yeah, it just grabs him, bashes her head in. All right, that's it. We're done. Yeah. And then it goes back to her, and I thought, oh, that's. And my first gut was like, is that cheap? I felt, is that cheap? And then she started visualizing all the different like outcomes. If she did this, if she did that, and everyone ended in death. And I'm like, oh, they set this up. This is actually quite smart. Where she always thinks like of like every possible ending in a story. And I'm like, oh, you know what? I like that. And I actually just liked in general how smart she was and how she was trying to figure things out. She wasn't like, there was the odd moment where she'd like cower in the corner or something, but she typically tried to solve problems. She would set the alarm off in the car to distract him and make him think there was something going on and try and run into the porch or whatever. There was constant problem solving happening on her end. And even towards the end of the movie when she thinks, I might just be fucked here, because she gets her hand crushed, she gets stabbed with an arrow, like she's just bleh. Like even at the end of the movie when she thinks she's fucked, I like that she goes onto the computer and just like types a description of him. It's like, okay, if I die, like they're finding this
at least
fucker.
we're gonna get this bastard.
Yeah. So I like that. I liked all that.
Yeah, no, I agree 100% with that. I really liked her character. She felt like, I guess, like pretty equal to the guy. Like, neither one seemed like overly, super powered, and each one had turns at getting like the upper hand. And I like that she did fight back, and it wasn't like over the top. But yeah, like she was very resourceful, and like you said, the setting up herself as a writer, and always like thinking ahead and stuff, and then when she has those visions of herself talking to herself, I thought those were really cool.
Yeah, that was really cool as well, because obviously we haven't heard her voice.
Yeah, it kind of like came out of nowhere. I was like, wait, what is this? And I was like, oh, this is pretty cool.
And especially since I don't think any of us knew who the actress was before this. Like, we'd never seen her in anything.
Yeah.
So her voice was genuinely this new thing. I was like, oh shit, that's what she sounds like. So that's pretty cool. What else would I like to talk about?
There's one thing I did want to talk about. It's when the boyfriend of her neighbor best friend arrives, and the killer is trying to pretend to be a cop. But he obviously catches on. He starts preparing with the rock behind his back to take him.
See, before we go on further on that, do you know what I liked about the whole pretending to be a cop thing?
Mm-hmm.
What's that?
I liked that it was very believable, his line of thinking, because at first, when he held up the light, I was actually thinking, is he actually put a uniform on? Because I can't really see him properly, because the light's shining right in my eyes. Right? And it showed you very clearly what his perspective of this was, so that you could buy it was like a cop. Because, a cop traditionally would have a light in this situation. At least in movies, real life's another thing, but in a movie I expect a cop to have a flashlight at this point. And then when he puts the light down and he sees he's basically just wearing a hoodie and like jeans, and he's like, yeah,
this isn't right.
Yeah, and he starts putting to it. I like that. I liked how that played out. But what were you getting at?
But when he's about to start a fight with the killer, because he has figured it out, the moment where obviously she didn't know what was going on, what his plan was, but her slamming on the door and distracting him for that one moment for him to walk away and the killer to stab him in the neck. I just want to know your feelings during that scene. 'Cause that was actually a moment of genuine frustration I had with her, even though I know it wasn't necessarily her fault. Just, it was building up. I was actually involved at this point. Come on.
I think it was well played, and the reason why I think it was well played is because I was really tense throughout the entire scene, because I was like, she could show up at that window at any point. You know, like I was kind of waiting for it to happen, and of course it just happened at exactly the wrong moment.
And as the killer says, as we were saying earlier, when he said, "I wouldn't have won that fight," I'm thankful she showed up when she did.
And again, that's an example of him squeaking by. But at least in that scene, I think it works quite well. Whereas I do still think for the rest of it, he should have went pretty, at least unheard, if not completely unseen, except when she can see him.
Yeah.
You know,
I just felt bad for the guy when he died.
Yeah,
I was
I
like,
felt bad for him. Yeah.
But no, he had some fight in him. Even bleeding out with his neck being stabbed. Putting him in a
That's the whole
chokehold.
thing, because he's trying to hold him down just long enough so that she can run.
yeah. And I like that too. That kind of that realism that's brought to it. Yeah, like again, it's not like like one of those kind of typical horror movies where it's like, oh, he's down in like one hit, or he's like, for a second you kind of believe that like, oh, he might be able to get this killer guy. Like it felt very real the way it's played out.
Yeah. So I guess that takes us kind of into the last sort of little section of the film, when she goes into the bathroom to sort of wait him out with the crossbow. If she even has it at that point. I think she does. That's when she looks at the notches. And they sell this idea that she's losing so much blood at this point that she's kind of passing out. And the camera plays with it where you see her from behind, and then you realise he's sitting behind her.
Yeah.
And then this for me was a great moment, because this is like, he's even talking to her. And this is when he should be talking, because this is creepy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
She just can't hear him. She's not aware of him. And at this point, it went back and forth so much. I was like, I'm not sure if she makes it out of this.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not sure who wins this immediately, because once she wrote down the description, I was thinking, okay, she might die, and then the kind of bittersweet happy ending will be them catching him.
Yeah.
But she feels the breath, and she spins round like a Batman, I guess. Like a Ninja Turtle, I don't know.
Like a Batman.
Like, I just, like, it reminds me of Daredevil. That's a good comparison. Like,
Yeah,
she uses her senses, and she spins around and reacts.
Yeah.
Just enough to survive. So
Yeah.
I like that moment. I thought it was well capitalized on, and I like that it ends
Definitely.
with, like, the police are coming, but it's just not quite there.
Yeah.
Like, it ends with her at the house alone, because that's how we started this. And I like that it's set entirely at the house the entire time. It never cuts to another location, ever. I like that. I like
That's true. I didn't really think about it, but yeah. It's a bottle movie.
Peter loves those single locale movies.
I do, especially in this case with a horror movie, because it really adds to the sense of isolation.
Yeah, especially when it's like a little. I'm a sucker for any like house or cabin just out in the woods.
Yeah, well, you love Evil Dead, Tim. We know your feelings on cabins in the woods. For the audio listeners, Tim just moved his eyebrows up and down a few times just to accent that. But no, I thought Hush was solid. I did have my nitpicks with the how they portrayed the killer a little bit too much. And whatever else I said before. I also, minor complaint, it's not a big deal, but I do think the actress who played her sister was a little bit shit. And the Skype call near the start.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, I thought she just felt a little bit I don't know, daytime TV movie quality. But then this obviously is a low budget film that's went straight to VOD, but and its quality is pretty damn strong, considering all that.
I like that bitch survived.
As do I. You know what? Do you know what? See, during that scene, the cat named Bitch, when he was about to stab the cat, that was literally the most butt cheek clenching moment in the entire film for me. And it's at moments like that I'm like, you know what? The deaf woman can die, but that cat better live.
Yeah, the cat didn't do anything.
Yeah, the cat.
I guess the woman didn't do anything either, but the cat really didn't.
Never kill cats in movies. That's why you follow the alien rule. You save the cat. You always save the cat. And she saved the cat. Yeah. Excellent.
It's good.
Fantastic. Alright, so let's get to some into some ratings. I think we'll go with whispers out of 10.
Okay.
Yeah, poetic. I think that's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Joseph, how many whispers out of 10?
So it's definitely not the best home invasion movie. We have Your Next, we have The Strangers, Them, but I
Home
still.
Alone.
Excuse me?
Home Alone.
That is technically a home invasion movie.
Yeah, it is.
Tim is
It
correct.
truly is. Yeah.
In fact, I would
There's
argue
some
that Your
horrifying
Next,
moments.
Your Next is partly inspired by Home Alone. I would argue
No, I could see it.
there is
But,
traps involved in that film.
I do see the problems with it. I do recognize them, but it was a solid 90 minutes that I felt was well spent. So I'll give it six whispers out of 10. I'm not going to do another 0.5. I've been doing that too much.
6. All right. Joseph, how many whispers out of 10?
Well, 6.
Oh, sorry, Tim. How many whispers out of 10? I just said your name again, man. Professor, what would you
Yes.
grade this film?
Like I feel like it might have sounded like I was coming out pretty negative.
Yeah, I feel like you're going
right
to
out
have a
the
higher
gate,
rate.
but
I feel like you're going to have a higher rating now than Joseph, even though he sounded more positive.
yeah. Well,
Well-
it's just that yeah, it's like overall I really did enjoy it, and like I can't say I was bored throughout it. I can't say it didn't have I didn't have a good time, and if I did see this in theaters, I would not have felt that it was like money not well spent. It's just those few little gripes we talked about, and again, it's like I think it's a really good solid movie. It's just with a few tweaks here and there, it could have been like a great movie. So I will actually give it a pretty good score. I'll give it a 7.5. But again, it could have easily been like an 8.5.
Yeah, just with a few changes to the script and just how much we heard the villain.
Yeah.
For me, despite the fact at the start I said I was more in line with Joseph, after the scores that's completely changed. I'm more in line with Tim, and I might even go as high to give this an 8, and throw it in there. I like this a lot, and the fact is this director's previous film Oculus, which we've not discussed on this show, and we probably will at some point, so I won't go too much into it, but for me that movie had a lot of great ideas but forgot to end. It just
Same.
all of a sudden the credits just started rolling. With this,
You see the director and everyone walk by, start eating sandwiches. Oh shit! Turn off the movie.
Am I wrong in hearing that there was something about an Oculus 2?
I do not know.
Sure.
I could not.
I had to check on that. All
I
right.
could not tell you.
Return of the Mirror. I don't know.
No, Oculus 2, Reflections.
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah, see.
Someone should pay you for that.
I know, they should be paying me for this shit. It's quality. But yeah, so
And then a third one, shattered.
Dreams.
Yeah.
Shattered visions, shattered. Yeah.
Or Shattered Memories, because there's a lot of flashbacks in it. Shattered Memories. There you go.
Shattered
Anyway,
butts.
Then you're like going back to a Silent Hill game.
the point I was getting is that I think this is much better than his last film. I think it's an improvement. I think it's a tighter film. Still some issues, but Oculus, because it doesn't have an ending, I probably wouldn't watch again. This, I would happily watch again in some time. So
I don't remember much about Oculus, but I think I remember kind of feeling the same way, like thinking there were good parts to it, but overall it's a little clunky. And then I think he did a movie before that called Absentia, I think.
I never seen what we did before that.
Yeah, but I feel like I felt a little bit the same way about that. So if the progression of his movies, I feel like they kind of keep getting better and better for me. So yeah, if he keeps up this rate, I'm sure the next couple of ones will be really good.
Yeah, here's hoping. All right, so I guess that brings an end to the review of Hush. So as always, guys, let us know what you think of the movie, either down below on YouTube or tweet at us mailed_fuzz on Twitter. Email is evenmailedfuzz@gmail.com. Like
Or just show up at
subscribe.
Peter's house
No,
middle of the night
Don't do that. Don't do
in a
that.
mask.
Don't do that. I actually had someone potentially try to break into my house this week.
You had
so
your
let's
own
not,
little Hush situation.
let's not joke about that. Let's not joke about it. Right. Luckily, being a manly man, I scared them off. But
Okay.
That's what happened. Yeah. Anyway, so let us know what you think, whatever it is. Also, like and subscribe and share and all that jazz. It helps us out a lot. So when I was outroing another show this week, I actually did jazz hands when I said all that jazz at the end.
Oh, fancy!
Without
pants.
even thinking about it, I just did it, and I immediately felt ashamed
That's why you gotta watch the video.
of every decision I've ever made in my life was questionable in that moment.
Except the one where you met me. Although I don't know if that was a decision, but
Nah, it wasn't. That was thrust upon me. That was an army of 1,000 goats just thrusting that into my life. Joseph, where can people
Shattered
find you if they would wish to do so?
I can be found on Twitter at jkohler_93 and on Letterboxd at jm_kohler.
And if people want a lesson, a lesson in the art of goats and horror and pizza, where can they find the professor?
Pay for it.
hit me up any social media thing. It's at Tim Vargulish, and check out my comic book stuff at facebook.com/goatmancomics.
Yeah, because you write a comic book named Goatman.
I do.
'Cause-
Hopefully, some news coming soon.
Oh. The movie's been greenlit? Is that what you're telling me?
You heard it here first.
I wasn't gonna say this, but no.
No.
Brett Ratner's in line to direct. Exciting
Oh
times.
God. How hard up would I be for money to accept
Agree
that?
to that. Well,
I believe after some of the recent comic movies, there are worse directors.
Yeah, that's true.
To be fair, Tim, you're probably hard up enough right now to go with that.
Yeah, I would probably do anything for like for like $20. All right.
Yeah, you can have the rights, it's fine. I need bread this week, thanks.
If I ever make any money, it's not going to be because someone actually wants the property. They probably just want the name. They're like, well, we came up with a goat man, and I guess we got to pay this
Yeah.
guy off now.
Yeah, you're probably right.
That's the most I can hope for.
You should register goatman.com. That'll be where you make your money, because the one domain name.
Already done. I got the domain. I just don't know how to build a website. I've been trying for 2 years. It's so hard. People say, what the fuck is it called? What's that thing?
Squarespace.
Squarespace. Yeah, everyone says it's so easy, but it's hard.
Oh, poor Tim.
Yeah, poor me. If you know how to build a website, hit me up at
Yeah.
Tim Margulish.
Did you not take computer applications and? high
No,
school?
because I wasn't born in 1994.
No, I mean I took that when I was in high school. We had a computer applications. I took a
Yeah, but I'm
photography
30
class.
years old.
Yeah,
I'm much older than you.
That is true.
yeah.
Our school had like one computer, and then like the stoners were just playing like Oregon Trail.
Well, with all that said, you can find me on social media at Wibble89. You can also find me on a bunch of shows here in the Mail Fuzz Podcast Network. If you're watching on YouTube, you're on the Mail Fuzz Movies channel. Check out 1.21 Gigawatts movie reviews. That's all the non-horror stuff. You can also check out Trailer Talk, where we talk about trailers as they came out. And also head over to Mail Fuzz TV channel.
Movie trailers.
Yeah, movie trailers, yes. Not trailers as in what people live in. Yeah.
Just clarifying. Not
Okay.
everyone knows that.
Welcome to our trailer park discussion show.
Ooh, we got a nice one here. Got a 6-footer with a 9-inch tail wedge. Gonna hook up real good.
Also, we review TV shows over on the Mail Fuzz TV channel under the almost cancelled banner. You can check those out. Better Call Saul ended its second season this week. We talked about that. We love that show. So did Supergirl, and Mr. Robot will be happening over the summer. So if you like TV, you can check out that too. And there'll be lots of horror TV next year, by the sounds of it, because TNT are doing a horror block with a lot of new stuff, including the Tales from the Crypt reboot. So
We'll be checking all of it out.
there's stuff to check out there, even if you only want horror stuff. But that said, if you look about horror movies, just keep it here. We like having you here too. Just help out the show wherever you can. We love you loads. Keep watching scary movies and study for Tim's test, because he's the professor after all. And we'll see you next time.